Mm. Hmm. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Pod News. I'm your host, Christine O'Donnell, Emmy-nominated TV journalist and expert podcast coach. Thank you for joining me here as I dive into latest podcast news. All right, so starting off from the top. Alrighty then. Okie dokie, guys. You're not going to believe this. There are now 2 million podcasts. This happened last night. This is according to Daniel J. Lewis's Podcast Industry Insights tool. And shows hit 2 million. It also says that 37 of those shows are active, which means published in the last 90 days. Hello, welcome to Reading the Pod News, everyone who is now joining. All right, so hey, are you one of the 37% who have a podcast out there right now? I'd love if somebody could do the percentage. So what is the percentage of shows? Wait, that is 37%. So like how many shows is that's active? If anybody can do the math that quick, please leave it in the comment. So if there's 2 million podcasts and 37, quick math for me, I'll recap with that because that's how many are active. All right. How do podcast prefix analytics works? Brian Barletta looks into the tech used by companies like Podtrack, Podsights, Chartable, and Blueberry in Sounds Profitable this week. So let's dive into that because all of these things are different ways to measure the growth of your podcast compared to other podcasts out there. Now, comparison isn't like the best thing to do, right? Because you can have a super successful podcast without tons of downloads. You don't really need to compare yourself to everyone. All right, Christoph, 75,480 roughly active podcasts right now. Okay, so if you're all like, oh my gosh, everybody has a podcast, that's only 75,000 people, which isn't as many as you thought. So there you go. Thank you, Christoph. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed with the idea of how many people are podcasting, but there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's all of these different ways that people are communicating with each other. So if you feel like you're one of many, you are, but there's only 75,000 active podcasts right now. Okay, let's look into this here podcast. Okay, how does it work? Okay. Actually, this article is not very, I'm not gonna belabor it. Moving on. All right, next thing. Guys, good morning. They had a previous funding round of $1.5 million in January of 2020. So Podsights is an analytics company, which has a team of about 15 people. I guess a $4 million funding round for 15 people. That's great. But what is this funding going towards? I'm really interested in that. And I think everybody's really up for, wait, Christoph did the math wrong. Okay, see, we're podcasters. Just kidding. There are amazing math who are good. Ugh. Morning time talking. It's rough today. I didn't sleep well last night, guys. 741,480. So there's 700,480 active shows, roughly. That is a big difference from 75,000. Still very good to know. I believe there's like 5 million YouTube channels for comparison. Roughly, where these are not. Let's look into that. It's a case of the Mondays on a Wednesday. Yes, it is, Christoph. Thank you. All right. Next up, coffee break for my brain and my speaking. Next up, Radio Days Asia kicked off today with a presentation from May Thomas about podcast Share the Ear. Tomorrow, KL Time focuses on podcasting from throughout the Asian market. Okay. I feel like that's worded kind of weird. So it just sounds like there's going to be a big presentation tomorrow from Tom Webster at Radio Days Asia, with new analytics. So if you're interested in figuring that out, I would check this out. The Breeze Lightning client has added a native podcast player on their iOS app. In London, the podcast show has moved its dates to the 25th and 26th of May in 2022. The date change into next year will allow for its show features to really come to life, from pop-up stages, networking, bars. Can you imagine going out to bars again, guys? A preview night, special guest appearances, activations, offsite marquees, emerging talent showcases, and full in-person friends programs. Guys, I miss the in-person stuff. That is nice. 2022, the year of all of the in-person conferences. I think 2021, right? There's still a bit of a transition, but I know that there are some podcast conferences, I believe, happening in August. So Digital has released the February 2021 LATAM podcast. You guys interested in the top 5 podcast? This Latin America podcast report. If so, I can share this in my highlights and in the show notes, the description. All right. PodKite already tracks Apple Podcasts search results for your podcast. The now PodKite tracks Google Podcasts too. So PodKite is a resource where if you are looking like, I wish I had one link that I could share with everyone, no matter where they like to listen to their podcasts, whether it's Google Podcasts or wherever, like Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, this one link. And there's a number of places providing this one link, but this one link will bring people to all of the different places that they can listen to your podcast. So it's called PodKite. Feel free to check it out, podkite.com, PodKite. And they provide analytics for you as well. Great. All right. Oh, they also launched an embedded podcast episode player. I wonder what that looks like, right? Because which player do they choose for you? Oh, it's just like a generic. Okay. New York Times A/B tests its headlines. Okay, so anybody who's part of my Bright-Sided membership, this is something I would really love to do a workshop on. So if you're interested and you got my email today, respond and be like, yes, headlines. I want a tutorial on headlines. How do I write catchy headlines that, pull in SEO search terms? How do I still make sure people want to click on it? And also, does it connect to what's going on in the world? So I love this. I'm not surprised the New York Times is A/B testing their headlines. You know who else A/B tests things? Every marketing company everywhere. They A/B test different versions of their ads. Instagram, YouTube, they also have different softwares that allow for A/B testing for YouTube thumbnails. I think it's called vidIQ for YouTube. And then Instagram, they A/B test different updates in their apps with different people's phones. And you probably won't even know which part of the audience you are. So yeah, A/B test your stuff. Spotify has launched a website about how much money it gives the music industry. Okay, so Spotify and a lot of music listening apps, right, have replaced DVDs, CDs. So learning how much money Spotify is actually making the musicians, I think is really good on their part, because were they making more money now with Spotify or with CDs? I know there's been there was some hostility about that switch. Do you guys remember that? Okay. Are podcast producers undervalued? You guys, I absolutely think many people undervalue podcast producers. If you really want to level up your show, bringing on a podcast producer, total game changer. So, yeah, I agree with Sky Pillsbury here. Sky does a whole article for Vulture Mag about it. So I'm going to read this because I agree. I want to learn more. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Pod News or reading the Pod News with Christine O'Donnell. It is lovely to chat with you. Thank you for participating. The big takeaway: 700,000 active podcasts right now, based on new research that came in overnight. 700,000 active podcasts. So there you go. All right. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.